In a hidden corner of a land where dawn broke gently over misty hills and nights whispered secrets, through towering ancient forests, there lived 3 children whose hearts beat faster at every mention of adventure: Ava, Ben, and Maya. Their village was quiet, tucked between green pastures and gentle rivers. To most villagers, that quiet was comfort, a promise that life would never change too much. But to Ava, Ben, and Maya, it was a fence that boxed in their dreams and made their bones ache for something more. Ava, with clever eyes behind round glasses and a mind that danced through riddles and books faster than any village elder could follow, had always been the ringleader. Ben, all boundless energy and easy laughter, was her sword and shield, ready to climb the highest tree or stare down the darkest shadow if it meant proving his courage. Maya, soft-spoken and forever scribbling sketches of birds, leaves, and people she loved, seemed the quietest of the 3, but she carried the strongest heart, a well of quiet bravery that neither darkness nor doubt could dry up. It was in the forgotten nook of the village library, where no dust cloth had brushed the shelves for decades, that Ava first found the words that would change their lives forever. She had dragged Ben and Maya along after supper one evening, their parents none the wiser, and when she blew the cobwebs from the spine of an old leather tome, it felt to all of them as if the room itself inhaled the promise of secrets long held by the flicker of candlelight. Ava read aloud words that cracked the shell of their ordinary days, the golden key, hidden where stars dare not shine and shadows hold their breath, waits for the pure of heart to claim it, and with it, the truth of all things. They could not sleep that night, nor the next. For days they whispered of maps, supplies, secret farewells, and so, on the first new moon of spring, when the villagers slept beneath blankets woven by grandmothers and Faith, 3 small shapes slipped away at dawn, carrying only a compass that spun wildly near magic, a journal half filled with Ava's careful notes, and Maya's sketchbook, which she held to her chest like armor. Their journey began where every tale of wonder does, at the edge of the familiar and the mouth of the unknown. The forest that bordered their village was old enough to remember every footstep that ever disturbed its roots. Sunlight fell through its canopy in fleeting shafts that touched mossy stones, and retreated again like shy spirits. Birds called warnings. The children did not heed. Ben marched ahead, brandishing a sturdy branch as if it were a hero's sword. Ava, map in hand, squinted at each twist in the deer paths, certain she could outwit any trick of the woods. Maya lingered a step behind, drawing everything: a flower blooming from a rotted log, a snake curled like a question mark, the way Ava's, brow furrowed when the trail faded beneath their feet. By the third dusk, the forest's welcome thinned, shadows grew teeth, whispers curled from hollow trunks, saying things that made Ben grip his stick tighter and Maya flinch. Ava pressed on, though doubt skittered behind her eyes. When they stumbled upon the whispering river, the moon overhead seemed to tremble in its reflection. The river was too wide to leap, too deep to wade, and too fast to swim. A broken sign near the bank read, "Speak truth. Cross safely." Speak lies, be swept away. Ava stepped forward first. The cold mist from the churning water kissed her cheeks. Her voice trembled as she spoke into the roar. I pretend I'm fearless and wise, but I am afraid I'll fail these two. I fear I'm not enough. The river quieted, as if listening. Beneath the surface, stones rose, one by one, forming the beginning of a bridge. Ben swallowed hard. Pride prickled his skin. He hated admitting fear, but he loved his friends more than. He loved being brave. I act tough so no one sees I'm scared. But losing Ava and Maya, that terrifies me more than any monster could. More stones emerged, slick but steady. Maya stepped forward last. Her breath misted in the moonlight. I fear that without them, no one would see me at all. I hide behind my drawings because they speak when I can't. The final stone surfaced, completing the passage. Together, hand in hand, they crossed. Halfway over, the river seemed to hum a song that only truth could teach, a song they would carry long. After the river was far behind, beyond the forest lay the high country, where mountains cupped the sky like the jaws of sleeping giants. There, the air turned thin and sharp, scraping their lungs raw. Each night they huddled by a tiny fire while wolves howled secrets to the moon. Ava traced the map by flickering light, convinced the golden key lay beyond the tallest peak. Ben carved their initials into tree trunks they passed, leaving breadcrumbs for the homesick heart. Maya drew the mountains, the frost on Ben's eyebrows, the new worry lines under Ava's eyes. On the seventh night, just as exhaustion made Ava's eyelids heavy, a figure stepped from the darkness beyond their campfire's reach. He wore a cloak the color of deep winter, and beneath the hood, his eyes burned like coals. The sorcerer of the legends, keeper of the key, guardian of all things forbidden. His voice cracked the silence like thunder rolling over stone. Children, you trespass where no mortal feet should wander. Turn back and let the key sleep undisturbed. Ben rose to his feet, fists clenched. His voice wavered, but held fast. We didn't crawl through forests and freeze our bones just to turn around. The key will be ours. The sorcerer lifted his staff. Sparks hissed in the air, dancing between the children and their fragile flame. Ava shielded Maya with her body, but Maya stepped on her, clutching her sketchbook as if it could shield them better than any sword. She saw him not as the terror of bedtime stories, but as a man who once must have cared deeply for something worth guarding. In that moment, while Ava braced for a blast of magic and Ben shouted curses into the wind, Maya sat cross-legged at the sorcerer's feet and drew. She drew him as he was, robed in power, eyes blazing with fearsome pride, and she drew him as he might have been, a young man once trusted to protect the world from greed and cruelty. When she lifted the finished sketch to the sorcerer's eyes, the storm around him faltered. The sparks died in the air. For the first time, his voice cracked not with fury, but with a grief too old to bear. "Why do you chase what can only break you?" he asked, so quietly that the night leaned in to hear. Ava stepped forward, her voice steady despite the tremble in her bones. "We came for the key, yes, but more than that, we came for the truth about ourselves." We faced our fears, our lies, our weaknesses. The key won't break us. It made us stronger before we ever touched it. For a heartbeat, all the mountains seemed to hold their breath. Then, with a sigh like the last wind of winter melting into spring, the sorcerer lowered his staff. He gestured toward the mountain's highest peak. There, half buried in snow, an archway of stone opened into darkness. Go then. May your hearts be your guide, not the key, inside the hidden chamber. Past traps that tested their trust and puzzles that demanded every scrap of knowledge, courage, and love they carried, they found it. The golden key, resting on an altar of stone and light. It gleamed with a warmth that pulsed to the beat of the universe. Ben reached for it first, but paused, glancing at Ava and Maya. Together, their hands closed around it, in that instant. The walls fell away. Stars wheeled overhead. They saw themselves, their past fears, their small betrayals, their moments of laughter and tears stitched together like constellations. They saw that the key did not open treasure chests or secret vaults. It opened them. When the vision faded, they stood on the mountaintop under dawn's first breath. The key lay warm and silent in their palms. It had nothing left to give them, because the real gift had been the journey itself, each truth spoken, each fear faced, each hand held tighter in the dark, with hearts bursting with a wisdom too big for their years and eyes brimming with the dawn of a world newly seen. They turned homeward. Their village would look the same, but they knew they would never again fit the shape they'd left behind. They carried the river's lesson, speak your truth, the forest's whisper, trust your heart, the sorcerer's broken voice, guard what is precious not with power, but with love. Years later, when Ava became the village's wisest elder, Ben its bravest protector, and Maya its gentlest teacher, children would gather at their feet. They would listen to stories of the golden key and gasp at the monsters defeated. And in quiet moments, they would learn the truth, that courage is not the absence of fear, but the promise to stand hand in hand and face it anyway. And so the legend of the golden key lived on, not hidden away in an icy chamber, but carried forever in the laughter and tears, the truth and love of three friends who learned that the greatest secret of the universe is not what you hold, but who you hold. Close when darkness falls.